Welcome to the Costello Coaching Podcast, where we talk about developing the human within the athlete. My vision is to enhance people's performance in all aspects of their lives. I hope you enjoy. And we're back with the Costello Coaching Podcast. I'm Tommy Costello with my good friend Thomas DeLauer.
What's up?
It's truly an honor to have you, to get to share a conversation with you. You've served as a good friend and as some sort of a mentor for me for the past 2 years now. Not gonna lie, I was surprised. If you guys follow Thomas DeLauer, you know what kind of content he does. He works within nutrition, performance, and there's so many great things that he's going to serve the world with coming up in the next 10 years. The last 10 years, he has really transformed himself from someone that was working in venture capitalist opportunities and took a route that was probably so against the grain, where he was in an environment of people and said, no, I'm going to go do this thing with YouTube. And now has become one of the biggest influences in the world in nutrition. And I think sometimes when you're a high achiever, you forget about what you're able to accomplish. And so I think it's really cool to start there with the fact that you get to serve an incredible population. And it's a real gift to serve those people. And I know my guys listen to your content, listen to your stuff, because I was sharing some things about you. And I'm just really interested in asking you some specific questions here today that would help my athletes, specifically baseball players, and how they can use nutrition to succeed at a higher level. So thank you for taking the time to jump on this with me. And I'm excited to learn from you today, man.
Yeah, man, let's jump right in.
Yeah, let's go. This is the biggest question that I get, which is so weird because nutrition to me is so much bigger than this. But every high school baseball player asks me about this. They want to know more about creatine. And I'm like, bro, there's a million things that you need to know before you want to know about creatine. But I kid you not, Thomas, every single kid asks me about creatine. And I answer them very vaguely. I say, yeah, it's important, but there's a lot of other factors in nutrition that we should be accounting for before we worry about creatine. So why do you think creatine is so popular, whether it be on the internet, or why is every single kid asking me about that specifically?
I think that creatine's made a huge comeback in the last 3 or 4 years for whatever reason. I think just it's the most heavily documented and the most studied outside of caffeine. So technically the second most studied ergogenic aid that's out there. It has the most evidence stacked for it out of any ergogenic aid, again, outside of just caffeine.
Define that.
Meaning, as far as a legal performance enhancer is concerned, it has the most amount of literature in favor of it. So it's legit. Now, what has happened is in the last 3 or 4 years, people have access to PubMed. People have access to being able to get this kind of information and look at the scientific literature and put it out there on social media. Whereas 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we had to take some random person's word for it or a supplement company's word for it. So it always kind of sat in the back of our head, does this stuff actually work? We weren't going on PubMed looking at literature like we are now. There is so much scientific literature in favor of creatine, the safety of creatine, the efficacy of creatine. So it's popular right now because it's talked about, but it's been popular in the, high performance settings for a very long time. But what happens is when people start getting more curious about things, then more literature comes out, people research it more, there's more actual randomized controlled trials on this stuff. And creatine, I would tell almost anyone that wants to start taking it, do not think of it as a performance aid, think of it as a recovery aid. And that's really important because creatine does help you increase performance. It helps you create more ATP. Mm-hmm. It helps you regenerate faster. So yeah, you're going to have more power, more explosiveness, more strength. And that's definitely a given and it's pretty concrete in the literature. But where it's really strong is as a recovery aid, as a potential anti-inflammatory. So for me, I take more creatine when I'm focusing on endurance than I do when I'm focusing on strength because it actually helps me recover faster. Mm. So I encourage people to flip the paradigm which you look at it. If you're a kid and you're interested in creatine, sure, it's definitely going to help you probably throw harder, probably swing harder, but it's not going to do that unless you also put in the work with it. Mm-hmm. It will help you a tiny bit, but it's not going to just increase your absolute torque without training it a little bit more too.
Sure. Yeah. So that's kind of a misconception too that parents have. They're like, oh no, I don't, you shouldn't have creatine. I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, well, creatine's prevalent in your steak. Does that mean that you don't want steak? Creatine shows up in so many different ways other than monohydrate powder form. And it's weird how certain people have a relationship with either supplements, protein powders, whatever it is. And I think it's obviously very beneficial. I've read the research and understand how much it can help. So I always advise towards it. But then I also want to make sure that people are taking the right steps on the low-hanging fruit, right? Like, don't worry about getting your scoop of creatine if you haven't eaten, your 4 meals that you need today. That's kind of where I keep the conversation for those kids. Another thing that consistently comes up in my line of work is people always want to know what they should be eating before the game, before their competition. And more specifically, like when it comes to nutrition for my minor league guys, it's always the conversation of like, hey, when I get home in the off season, I'm dialed in. Like I'm on a consistent routine and I'm training, I'm getting all my meals in. And then when we go out and we're on bus rides and we're eating Taco Bell and we're doing this, we're doing that, it's really hard for me to, get my nutrition right. And all the guys actually lose weight, which makes sense to us. If you're listening and you're like, well, they're eating Taco Bell and fast food and this, how are they losing weight? Well, they're not getting the proper nutrients they need. And so for guys, like, I really love routines and disciplines around food, but I feel like so many guys that I work with just throw in the towel. They'll throw in the towel like, oh, it's season. I'm going to get my meal wherever I can get my meal. And they kind of lose the disciplines that they developed in the off season to help build their body up. And then we spend the first month of the off season just trying to get it back to where it was in the last off season. So for guys that are, minor league guys, or this could go for anyone that's traveling a lot in their line of work and they lose their routine with their food. How would you coach someone towards that? Around that topic?
Let's answer sort of the the pre-workout, pre-game kind of meal thing first, because I think that you almost have to divide it into 2 questions. I usually like to break things down into simple car analogies. They're not entirely accurate, but they're colloquial enough to get the point across. Okay, let's say you've got a car and that car has a 30-gallon fuel tank, and then it has a fuel line that connects the fuel tank to the motor. Okay, you've got 30 gallons of fuel in the tank, and then you've got whatever little bit of fuel is in the lines, right? When you're talking about what am I going to eat prior to a workout, you're almost talking about what fuel are you going to put in the line versus the tank, right? That is such a small amount of your actual energy that you're utilizing for your workout is what you eat right before your workout. Like what you eat the couple hours leading up to a workout, that might increase your blood sugar a little bit to give you a little bit of some fuel. It might increase your energy balance just enough so that you feel a little bit more alert. But what really matters is, what you've eaten the last few days, really. So it's like saying, I'm going to put 87 octane fuel in my tank, but then I'm going to make sure that the lines have 110 octane. You're going to burn through that 110 octane in the lines in 5 seconds, right? It's like if I were to go eat a couple Pixie Sticks right before working out, I would burn through the Pixie Stick sugar pretty darn quick because that's in my veins, right? That's going to be done and that's going to be a shot in the arm. But then I'm left with whatever else I need, whatever's available and needs to be used, my muscle glycogen. And people really think that although the fuel dynamics are important to understand, there's a lot more to it than just saying, hey, what food did I eat, right? It's all about how efficient your system is at using that fuel. And that is much more beyond what you immediately ate surrounding a workout.
Yeah.
How well your cells actually take fuel up, how well your mitochondria turn that fuel, turn that energy, turn those electrons from food into actual energy and contractile force. So there's a lot of pieces, and it's not like you can say, hey, I'm going to eat an apple and it's going to magically make my mitochondria work a different way. That's going to make me perform better than the next guy. What's going to matter is how well do you eat for the months leading up to that. That conditions your mitochondria to extract fuel from whatever fucking shit you give it, right? You could, excuse me, you could ultimately end up giving it garbage and it would still be able to extract fuel efficiently from that. Not saying you'd want to eat garbage, but all the work is done over the long haul.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like a consistency of eating.
Correct.
Yeah, obviously that makes sense. But sometimes people get under this illusion that it's you got to have this and you got to have that, and then people will get tied down to those approaches, and then feel like they're underfueled or they're going to underperform because they didn't have it. So the truth is, like, consistency across the board, what you're doing that week in that 7-day period is probably more beneficial than worrying about what you're having 2 to 3 hours prior to competition.
Yeah, I would say the 3 months prior to a workout or an event are probably more important than the 3 hours leading.
Yeah.
And then the 3 weeks before are really important, and the 3 days are really important. But the 3 hours is like a small sliver of
What about, and this could go many different directions, but what about alcohol then? Because I know, like, I just think about guys like in the postseason, when you're saying that, guys in the postseason, they win, a game, and they're going to the next round of the playoffs, and they're all popping champagne and boozing it up for a night, getting hammered. Like, how long does that affect them?
That could affect for days. I mean, definitely days, and mainly on the recovery side of things.
Yeah.
I mean, you may think you're sleeping well after you have alcohol, but it's a complete illusion. You're not getting slow wave sleep. There's recent literature that came out in 2023 that essentially, we used to think that having like even one drink per night or like was good for longevity. Like, now the literature is very clear that any amount of alcohol is detrimental, any amount, right?
Wow.
So it's not just a matter of, I occasionally drink, maybe it's good for my health. No, if you occasionally drink, it's occasionally bad for you.
So it's just bad.
It's bad, straight up. And like, anyone that cares about their performance should be able to put their performance
ahead,
up on a pedestal ahead of alcohol. You should have and I understand the need to celebrate. Like, I totally understand that. But there's 1,025 different ways that you could celebrate outside of that, because all you're doing is, especially if you're, postseason and you're looking at back-to-back games, and all you're looking at doing is jeopardizing your own performance.
Yeah, you're jeopardizing your next round of performance. Yeah, there might need to be a cultural shift, for the performance around, what you do to celebrate. Yeah, in my mind.
Unfortunately, I think like a lot of the younger generation is better than like my generation. Like, my generation, very alcohol centric. My parents' generation, very, very alcohol centric. And like, I'm starting to notice that people that are in their 20s, like, they are more open to like what is it, the sober curiosity movement and all the stuff. And people are like, I can actually like do things without alcohol. Yeah. And unfortunately, sports have this parallel with alcohol, which is just unfortunate because it's such the polar opposite. But if you look at a lot of the major like top performers in independent sports, where it's them against the clock or them against a specific score on their own, very few of them are drinkers, right? Yeah. And it's just because their only competition is with themselves. So if they're not better than themselves, then they're not winning, right? Yeah. And they know that the only difference between a better version of them today from tomorrow is not drinking.
Yeah. And so they're willing to have the discipline around it.
Totally.
It's really, really important concept. And then what, I know I gave you a double question, but on the second end of it, then with the minor league baseball players specifically, who are in this thought process, I want to say that they're going to just kind of forego their nutrition and focus on, or just give themselves whatever kind of fuel that they have access to in their mind, and be okay with having Cane's and be okay with having McDonald's and be okay with having Taco Bell and like all these places. I have an approach, like way I have that conversation with athletes. But I'm interested, if you say you were coaching me on that and I was going off to play my minor league season, and I was like, hey, Thomas, these are the challenges. Like, we go on the road for 6 days. We don't stay in the best places. We're on the bus. We pull off at 7-Eleven. We grab some dinner there. Like, what kind of approach are you giving me there?
I think knowing you, I would tell you to flip the script. Yeah. And rather than caving into the things that are making life easy, you embrace the difficulty of it, because it is difficult. And you have people out there that'll tell you, it's easy, just make an easier decision. It's not easy. It's never easy. Even when you're focused and you have peer pressure and you have your teammates, it's not easy, because you're either disappointing yourself or you're disappointing your teammates. And you have to be able to flip the script and be able to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. You have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be able to sort of have this kinesthetic awareness to like flip a switch in your head that says, no, I am like going machine right now. And that's totally okay. And you can also tell yourself that, hey, like this food is not further enriching me. Stop. Like every time you're about to make a decision with your food, pause for 3 seconds. That's all it takes. If you were in the grocery store, if you were in a fast food line, stop for 3 seconds and ask yourself the simple question, is this food helping me or is it harming me? Period. And it's not as simple as like, oh, well, it's all just calories. It's all going to be energy. No, heck no. Like food will either help you or it will hurt you. Plain and simple. And when you are in line at a fast food place, like you absolutely can make decisions that will help you versus hurt you.
Yeah. Like I've seen you do some things, right? Where you'll be on the road or whatever, and you'll just take the burger patties.
Totally. All the time.
Yeah. So like what would be, maybe if you had 3 hacks for guys that are, consistently in those environments where it's easy to make a really poor decision. What are some minor tweaks or adjustments that they could be making, to help, improve the choices they're making really?
Yeah. The simplest one is the obvious of prioritizing the protein.
Yep.
But with that comes sometimes you spend a couple dollars more. Sometimes you're ordering in a weird way. And again, it's being uncomfortable with the uncomfortable. It's not always easy to walk up to Baja Fresh or to Habit Burger and to order something that sounds complicated. When you say like, hey, can you just give me patties or just give me like 2 sides of chicken and a side of shrimp? Like, they don't care. They're getting paid the same either way. Sometimes they'll get frustrated, but the bottom line is like, I did it yesterday driving back from Northern California. Like went to Baja Fresh and that's literally what I ordered. 2 sides of chicken, a side of shrimp, and then I got some salsa.
That's really interesting though. Usually it's more uncomfortable for the person ordering than it really is the person receiving the order.
Yeah.
And we make this weird excuse in our head like, oh no, they'd rather just have me say the number 8. And it's like, no, they don't give a crap.
No, they don't. And they typically, and if it is difficult for them, just be nice to them.
Yeah.
Like being nice to someone gets you a long way. Like if you go up to them and you're like, damn it, give me chicken. You know?
It's not going to work out.
Be like, hey, like, could you please like try to make it work? And be okay. Like something has happened with like, I used to get a lot of pushback on these things, but then being okay with being like, they might charge me $4 for a side of chicken.
Yeah.
But don't be the guy that's being like, well, it's $5 for this. Like,
just wear it.
Just like, you're going to spend either $6 for the taco.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a bunch of garbage on it, or you can spend $5 and just get the chicken. And you could sit there with your value calculator being like, I'm not getting tortillas. This is not value. It is value because the return you're getting on your health for tomorrow and for the next 10 years down the line. Pay a little bit more per capita, so to speak, for your chicken or for your beef, and just forget all the other crap.
You have a lot of funny tweets about that, actually. I was reading them where it's like, $1.69 for Coke, and then it's like $2 for water. And you're like, how the hell does that happen?
Yeah, it doesn't add up. Like,
do you have anything like deeper level than that on why that is that way?
I mean, that one actually is really frustrating. The water and Coke thing, I really don't understand because
it doesn't make sense.
Economy of scale, like I understand that. Like, certain things, like I did another tweet similar, like with peanut butter. Like how come peanut butter with like 1 ingredient is more expensive than peanut butter with 7?
Sure.
I mean, if you got down to the nitty gritty of it, you could talk like preservatives, shelf life, things like that, economy of scale. If more people are buying Jif and, they can scale that easier, then that makes sense. But Diet Coke or Coke being cheaper than water,
doesn't make sense.
That just makes 0 sense. Unless and even then it's like, okay, if you require because you probably require more than a liter of water to make a liter of Coke, because I'm sure there's a certain level of heating or whatever. Yeah. So it should be even more expensive.
Yeah.
Because
it's like double the amount.
Yeah. So I don't have a reason there other than the fact that there is appeal there. And, people are like, okay, well, let's just keep, I don't think that there's this massive agenda trying to get people unhealthy. I think that it's generally just going with what people are asking for. Yeah. And people vote with their dollars, plain and simple. And if less people are buying water and more people are buying Coke, then they're going to scale the Coke more. Yeah.
That's really fascinating. Where did you start with all this? I know, but where did you start with all this in terms of diving into this world of nutrition? Where did you really start to invest into learning and understanding and kind of being looking at things a little bit with some curiosity and wanting to know more about it? Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the show.
Only way this podcast grows is if it's shared. So please share it with your friends, family, or anyone you feel like it can help enhance their performance in their life. A little karma goes a long way. Let's get back to the show.
I would say, it was when I was in the corporate healthcare world, and I was very genuinely curious as to like why we could bill out like insurance companies like ridiculous amounts of money for really simple things. Like it didn't make sense to me. And it started to make sense to me, and that was what changed everything in my mind. Like, why are we billing insurance like $4,000 for this that really like took like 15 minutes? Like, this just seems like the biggest sham in the world. Like, I'm just like this. No one with half a brain would think that that is like normal. And it started to occur to me that like our healthcare system is very, very broken, not to sound cliche, and that it's not a world that I personally wanted to be in anymore, because I was sort of on the reimbursable side. I was on kind of the dark side of it in a lot of ways. And I'm like, it just didn't feel warm and fuzzy. Like I wasn't doing anything that was like detrimental to society, but it was really like, I legitimately had a hard time like going to bed at night thinking like, is this how I'm going to make money? Not that I was harming people, but it's like,
it wasn't fulfilling.
It doesn't feel good. Like it feels like, okay, it's a money grab. And so I realized that in the process of doing what I was doing, that like people had told me many times that what I was good at was like articulating the biochemistry and stuff. I was in a sales role. So it was literally my job to sell biotech and like biomedical services and biotech software and things like that. So like I had to explain to physicians how things worked, why this was good for the patient, why it was also good for their business. So I was like literally my job to like make economic sense out of like biochemistry for doctors. And I realized that like, okay, my path here is I could like climb a sales ladder and be a VP of sales and do that and like make other people rich and do that something that isn't that fulfilling. Or I could actually like use my sort of gift of being able to communicate in a way that was a lot more fun, a lot more engaging, probably reached more people, and ultimately would probably make me more money too, because I would feel like I'm actually enjoying it and I want to keep putting more and more into it.
For sure.
So with that, it was, I got out of the role that I was in, and it wasn't like I woke up one day and wanted to do a YouTube channel. There was a period of time kind of figuring it out and what I wanted to do. I went through my own sort of health transformation first and lost a bunch of weight, got into the like mainstream fitness world sort of by some series of luck and some bets. I got onto a cover of a couple magazines. The rest was kind of a little bit of luck. It really was. It was like timing of things, like getting magazine covers at the right time while also like launching an ebook talking about how I lost weight right when social media was just kind of starting at this inflection point. And
you hit it.
Yeah, I just kind of, some of it was definitely timing.
Then who's been one of your biggest mentors in understanding this world of nutrition?
Understanding the world of nutrition.
Or I should better phrase it with understanding nutrition. Yeah. Not even the world of, just understanding nutrition as a whole. Who's been one of your biggest mentors?
That's a good question. I mean, there was one particular doctor, Dr. Headley, when I was kind of in the world of biotech and stuff, that was really like encouraging me to kind of get out into a different world.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say he was like a nutrition mentor. He was just someone that like egged me on to like kind of get into your own world, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I had any specific like
just your own research
of. It was a lot of my own research, a lot of my own trial and error, just with what I had experienced.
Yeah.
A lot of like what I was doing before, as far as lab services and like it was like cortisol testing and testosterone testing and a lot of that stuff. So I learned a lot of endocrinology stuff. I learned a lot of how nutrition impacts that. So I think from there, I just kind of took it and ran with it. I've had a number of different mentors as far as just the world of like scientific literature goes and like learning from people. But like nutrition, there's no real like general experts. I don't even consider myself like an expert, right? I understand how things work and I'd like to make it simple. But I'd like to say like, oh, there's like this one nutritionist. Because if someone typically is calling themselves a nutritionist, they probably don't know what they're talking about. Because anyone that is really savvy in nutrition is usually savvy in like one narrow little silo that their PhD is in with one particular
of hydration or of like whatever.
More like a transcription factor or a receptor protein in the nucleus of one particular cell. Like they're an expert in that and they have a PhD, did their dissertation there. And you ask them about nutrition, they'll be like, well, I can tell you like how this electron impacts this part of nutrition. So
it's too big.
It was more so like what mentored me was more so the opposite. It was more so like, what deterred me. There were a lot of people out there that like deterred me. A lot of like I was always just appalled by the like calories in, calories out discussion. I always thought that, and don't get me wrong, like I know that is very important. Like I'm not completely blind. Like I totally understand that, but I couldn't help but look at that and be like, why isn't anybody asking questions if there's more to this? Like there's gotta be more than just energy balance. Like how I respond to a food is different than how someone else does. And like, why do we just have to be okay with that? Why can't we think about nutrient quality? And this is like 10 years ago. And now we're doing this big circle where like nutrient quality is like the emphasis of so many people. Because if we were to just focus on calories in, calories out all the time, then Taco Bell would be fine and Del Taco would be fine as long as you're eating within the right appropriate range. And for simple, basic like body composition, it probably is that simple. But there's so much more when it comes down to performance, when it comes down to feeling good and potential disease prevention and whatnot.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to my athletes, I'll explain it this simply. I'll explain it to them this way. I say, hey, look, your macronutrients, your carbs, fats, and proteins are going to help you with your body composition, where your micronutrients are really going to help you with your health and your immune system and the function of how you recover and all of that. And so when I build a meal plan for the athletes, both are accounted for. And a lot of times kids, especially, that will swipe through TikTok, swipe through Instagram, and, pick out little things where I started with the creatine. Like they'll get on this kick that it's just, it's this one component that's so important because they watched the one video and it was so impactful to them that they're so focused on it. And I'm like, no, like, yes, you can go to In-N-Out and have your 1,500 calories in one sitting, and it's probably going to help you gain weight if you do it consistently. But how does that affect your recovery and affect your performance? If the weight gain is about your performance, then the micronutrient profile is extremely important, because elite level people focus on the recovery where lower level competitors focus on their work ethic and what they're doing. Yep. Like the people at the highest levels all work hard, but the people at the highest levels who recovers the best, they are the best.
Yep.
And so kind of trying to shift that paradigm away from, guys, you know how many strength coaches that will tell the athletes that I work with, if they go to their school or if they work out with someone, hey, just eat. You just need to eat a ton. You just need to eat more. You need to eat a ton. I'm like, guys, what kind of plan are we giving these kids? Like, you gotta provide some details for these guys. No, this is why you want this on your plate versus that. And this is why you would go here, and this is why you'd order this. And giving them some reasons behind it is so important. I think like it's a huge miss. Like people are missing so big. And then it's so funny. These guys say that, I'm eating so much healthier now, Tommy, because I'm eating what you told me. And I'm actually up 11 pounds now. Oh yeah. You think that it's the bad food is going to make you gain weight? Because that's more of my world, is the weight gain world. These athletes are a little lacking power, lacking size. The level above them need to get bigger, stronger, faster. So they're always trying to pack on weight. We very rarely deal with people that lose weight. And I feel like the weight loss thing is way easier to teach than the weight gain, because it's like breaking that thought pattern of like, I can just eat whatever I want. It's like, no, dude, if you're having a bunch of empty calories, it's not going to help you gain weight. Like you need some nutrient dense foods. So that's the kind of conversation I have. I feel like it's pretty aligned with what you would say to someone too.
Yeah. It's like, if you look at, I think if someone learns how to lose weight, it makes gaining weight easier.
Totally.
Because there's so much more to it than just like, if you eat more calories, you're going to gain weight. But if you develop an efficient system, then you're going to have better protein synthesis and you're going to be able to train harder. And like the literature is very clear that the two key factors for building muscle, the main one, like 60 to 70% of it is stimulus, period. It's what happens in the weight room. The nutrition, trust me, as a nutrition guy, I will tell you nutrition is important. But the better the stimulus, the better the outcome as far as weight training is concerned. So do what you can do by eating clean and eating healthy so you can have the best stimulus. So for me, I look at things like that. I'm like, if I go and I pound 2 double doubles from In-N-Out, I might feel strong, but my stamina is going to be crap. So I don't get the volume. So I don't get the stimulation. So I don't get the growth.
It's a ripple effect.
But if I feel good about what I'm eating, and I also feel good about myself, and I also, by the way, like what I see in the mirror, even though some would say that's vanity driven, if you like what you're seeing, there is literature to suggest that, again, you're going to perform better. And like when I am comfortable and healthy and happy with my decisions and I feel like I'm eating clean, my stamina is better, my respiratory quotient's better, all this stuff is better where I can perform and get more volume and more stimulus. Then, by the way, when I do consume that protein, one could suggest that you're going to actually synthesize the protein a little bit better because your body's a more efficient system. So like pick your battles with that. Like, if you really want to pull the biggest levers, you're going to pull the levers that are going to allow you to perform better and the rest falls into place.
Wow. That's awesome. There's so much value in what you're sharing. There should be a full page of notes for whoever listened to that, because I really believe that like what you shared right there would directly help the athletes that I work with and the people that listen to this. So, very grateful for that. And I'm excited for the next episode that we'll get to have together.
Heck yeah, man. Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the show. I hope you benefited from this. Give the show a follow, share it, and comment what you'd like to hear more of so we can help more people perform in all aspects of their lives.